Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to the fifth meeting of English morphology. Today we're going to learn about the types of morphemes. For today we're going to know the definition and the examples of free, bound, lexical, and grammatical morphemes. So let's start. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. There are three ways of classifying morphemes. So these three pairs are the opposites of each other. There are free morphemes and the opposite is bound morphemes. And lexical morphemes, the opposite is grammatical morphemes. And then inflectional morphemes, the opposite is derivational morphemes. So these six are the types of morphemes. First, let's find out what is free morpheme. Free morphemes can stand alone as words without anything attached to them, without any affixes or without other word. For example, student or at, it, etc. Or in this complex word helpfulness, there is a free morpheme help there, because help can stand alone as a word without the affixes. It has its own meaning. Maybe you think that because help is the root, therefore it is considered as the free morpheme. However, it is not true. Jadi, tidak semua root, meskipun help di sini adalah root dari kata helpfulness, tapi tidak semua root bisa dikatakan sebagai free morpheme. Not all root can be considered as free. For example, the root in receive or induce. The root is sieve and induce. Sieve cannot stand alone as a word because it doesn't have its own meaning. Sieve tidak punya makna sendiri, deuce juga tidak punya makna sendiri. But they are the root of the word receive and induce. Jadi receive, re di situ adalah prefix ya. In juga adalah prefix. Sieve adalah rootnya, deuce juga rootnya. However, they are not free morphemes. So not all root can be considered as free. The next is bound morpheme. Bound morphemes cannot stand alone as a words. It is the opposite of free morpheme. They are always parts of other words. For example, affixes. All affixes are originally bound. They cannot be free. Maybe one of you asked me about the prefix anti. Anti ya. Sebenarnya anti itu bound atau free sih? Padahal anti juga bisa digunakan sebagai word. However, if you take a look at its meaning, the meaning of an anti in dictionary, actually it is an informal word. So originally it is a morpheme. It is a prefix. It is a prefix and it is a bound morpheme that cannot stand alone as a word. However, because there are changing in the way we use language, anti is considered as normal if we use it as a word. Jadi sekarang juga anti bisa dikatakan sebagai sebuah kata sendiri. For example, I am an anti of this person, etc. etc. Tapi itu sebenarnya adalah penggunaan yang informal. And then some roots can be bound. As I have explained in free morpheme, because not all roots are free, that means some roots are bound. Sieve and deuce are bound morphemes. And then if you take a look at the book from Andrew Casters McCarthy, the Introduction to English Morphology, you will find cranberry morpheme there. What is cranberry morpheme? So if you take a look at this group of words in the left side, strawberry, blueberry, blackberry, they are all compound words, right? Straw and berry, blue and berry, black and berry. Straw has its own meaning. Berry also has its own meaning, same like blueberry and blackberry. However, let's take a look at the words on the right side. Cranberry, huckleberry, twilight, or crayfish. So, cranberry. Berry has its own meaning. However, what about cran? Is there a meaning in cran? There is actually no meaning for the word cran. Or huckle. What is huckle? There is no meaning of it. Meskipun ada juga, itu tuh benar-benar tidak nyambung dengan huckleberry gitu. So if there is a meaning of huckle, it is actually very irrelevant to huckleberry. Berbeda dengan blueberry yang seperti berry yang kebiru-biruan atau blackberry, berry yang kehitam-hitaman, but huckleberry doesn't really has that kind of meaning. In twilight too. Light has its own meaning, but what is twi? We don't know about it. And crayfish, what is cray? So actually, cran, huckle, twi, and cray are all bound morpheme. However, these bound morphemes can only occur in only one word. So cran only occur in cranberry. There is no other words that has cran in it. Same as huckleberry. The morpheme huckle only occur in huckleberry. The bound morpheme twi also only occur in twilight. And cray also only occur in crayfish. So these prefixes, they are different than other prefixes that can occur in many words. For example, the prefix un. Un can occur in unfriendly, unkind, unhappy, etc. etc. However, these are the opposites. Cranberry morpheme is a bound morpheme that occurs in only one word. The term was coined by Leonard Bloomfield in his book entitled Language. So, Leonard Bloomfield is one of the most influencing linguists, one of the hugest linguists. You have to know about Leonard Bloomfield. Cranberry morpheme is also called as unique morpheme or a blocked morpheme or also leftover morpheme. We have already known about free and bound morphemes. So now let's get to know what is lexical morpheme and also what is grammatical morpheme. Lexical morphemes have a sense or meaning in and of themselves. Nouns, verbs, and adjectives are typical of lexical morphemes. For example, for a noun, there's student or teacher or child, etc. And verbs, there's learn, or listen, or see. And adjectives, diligent, lazy, etc. etc. Those three word classes are lexical morphemes. And then grammatical morpheme is the opposite of lexical morpheme. Grammatical morphemes don't really have a sense in and of themselves. These morphemes express a relationship between lexical morphemes. And then prepositions, articles, and conjunctions are typical of grammatical morphemes. For example, A, for, and RT. So if you take a look at lexical morphemes, for example, student, you know that what is a student, what a student is, and you know the meaning of a student. And you also know the meaning of learn, and you also know the meaning of diligent, because they have a sense or meaning in themselves. However, if you take a look at prepositions or articles or conjunctions, a what? You have to know what is the word that's attached to it. And then for what? And what? Or the what? It is because these word classes don't really have a sense in themselves. So they typically only express a relationship between lexical morphemes. Now that you know about what free, bound, lexical, and grammatical morphemes are, it's time for the assignment. So the assignments, you have to divide yourselves into groups. There are 2 or 3 people for each group, and then you have to answer the questions from Parker and Riley's book entitled Linguistics for Non-Linguists that I have shared to you in our Google Classroom. You have to do exercise E, page 107. Okay, thank you for your attention. Now we're going to have our written discussion in the classwork. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.